Hello Yu-Gi-Oh family, how are we today? Good to hear. Do you know when you tell people you play Yu-Gi-Oh and their first question is obviously, how do you even win at that game? And you don't really want to go into detail with them because they're not going to understand anything you say. And the first thing you say is you both have 8,000 life points. The first person to get to 0 loses. There are obviously other ways to win the game, like milling out so when they draw and they can't draw you win. And there's obviously Final Countdown and Yugioh and those stupid as pleb decks. But if you play them, you're a pleb and you're not really my target audience for this video. And even people I see at tournaments, their in-depth explanation of how you win at Yu-Gi-Oh is just 8,000 life points. And even though technically getting your opponent's life points down to 0 is how you win the game, it's not how you actually win the game. You actually need to be able to get your You actually need to be able to get your opponent's life points down to 0, and that is how you win the game. So in this video, I'm not going to just talk about how the game is won, it's how you win the game. So, as I said before, and as everyone watching this video probably should know, you both start with 8,000 life points, and the first person to get to 0 is the loser. And when you hear that, you're like, okay, life points are really important, I can't spend any life points, I can't lose any life points. If my opponent tries to deal 100 life points to me, I'm going to do anything I can to stop that 100 life points being dealt to me. A couple words come to my mind when I think of how you win the game. Control and advantage. These are two of the many ways you win the game. If you have a field that can control the board, control your opponent, keep them behind and keep you ahead, you're probably going to win the game. Advantage. This can be split up into two categories. Field advantage and card advantage. You want both of these things to win the game because you have more options than them. You have more plays than them. If you can get your opponent with no cards in their hand, or top decking, as we call it, you're going to win the game. And field advantage is a humongous thing. Even if your opponent does have a few cards in their hand, but you have this solid wall of maybe Felground and Draco Sack and a couple back row, that is a lot of pressure. And your opponent has to deal with all of that before they can actually touch your life points. And that is going to use their resources, their turns, and a lot of their time. And to do that, they are going to have to use a lot of their resources, their cards, and even 1 or 2 turns. It's not a game of life points, it is a game of advantage. If you have the upper hand on your opponent, you're going to win the duel. A few examples to prove that we don't actually care about our life points. Upstart Goblin. We give our opponent 1,000 life points just to draw a card. We used to pay up to 4,000 life points just to negate one thing. We still pay 2,000 life points to negate a summon. And a humongous one is Soul Charge. We will get our life points down to 500 with Soul Charge. If we can just build up... Just touch my fucking nose. We will get our life points down to 500 if it will get us a solid field and solid advantage against our opponent. This is why Soul Charge is absolutely broken. You can pay your life points, but that field that you're going to get from it is going to stick there. So many people always talk about how someone came back from 500 life points. Oh man, I watched the duel last night, this guy had 500 life points, the other guy was still on 8,000, he just came back from nowhere, man, it was crazy. And this proves that this game is not a game of life points. The aim of the game is to have more stuff to play with than your opponent. Give them as few options as they possibly can, and give them as much pressure as you possibly can. This is how you win Yu-Gi-Oh in my opinion. I know I said in my last video that I was going to talk about Satellarknights in this video, but that was before they came first and second in AOG, and everyone's talking about them and everyone's watching them and everyone knows how they work now, so there's not really any point. I might still do it when the new support comes out in the next set, but until then I doubt I'm going to touch on them. But to everyone that watched my last video and that took the time out of your day to watch this video, I do appreciate it. Thank you very much. Please show your support to me by liking, leaving a comment and subscribe. And I will see you next time guys. GG.